I'm Greg Hunter. Welcome to USAWatchdog.com. This is a special weekly news wrap up for Friday the 13th, 2020. It's the WNW 423. I'm going to change it up a little bit, and but I want to just hit some highlights. This coronavirus deal, whether you think it's fake or real, the effects of it are happening, but things were spinning out of control before this all picked up. But now it's picked up steam. The president is canceling political events and trips. So are other candidates like Biden and Bernie Sanders, and other people are canceling. They're canceling sporting events where they're only going to have, the parents in the stands for the NCAA tournaments for basketball. Conferences canceled, like Southwest. Many things. States have already called a state of emergency. It has taken some extreme actions. But again, this was going south before any coronavirus. I've been warning you about the repo markets, which they have gone absolutely insane now in the repo market with another trillion or trillion five they're pumping in to keep this Ponzi scheme up. That things were going bad since October. Their QE, that's not QE, a $60 billion a month. People refused to take a look at the risks. I've had a lot of very smart people on who made very good calls, who were correct on. One of them said back in January, my next guest, and this is what the wrap-up's going to be, a talk about what the heck is going on. And he's a good guy to get on. He's an expert in geopolitical and economic cycles. Back in January of 2020, he came on and said, well, I'm more worried about the market going down 40% than getting another 5%. I've told my clients to get out. You can go back and look at the interview if you'd like. I've told my clients to get out. I said, you're out. You're out, out, out. We're done. Worried about losing 40, maybe more, percent. So yes, my clients are out. They're out. They're gone. Bye-bye. That's what I told them to do. Who I'm bringing on right now is the guy that made that call, Charles Nenner. I've also had Bo Pony on, a few weeks later, who made a similar call. But Charles Nenner, you made a huge call. You also said interest rates. We think interest rates are going to go down. And what do we hit on the 10-year Treasury? A new all-time low on interest rates, 0.3 something. It's up a little higher now, but did interest rates go down? Yeah. So Charles Nenner of Nenner.com, the Charles Nenner Research Center, a guy who's been in the markets a long time, a lot of expertise, a lot of correct calls. This was a monster call, my friend. Tell me, how did you come to make this call, and that this is the end of a big cycle, and what is coming? How did you make the call, and what's coming?
Well, like I've explained before, markets don't move at random. If they move at random, then you have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. So you have to assume they don't move at random, and then you're going to study the subject. Now, I made the same call in 2007. I made the same call in 2000 when I was still with Goldman Sachs. I made the same call in 1990, 98, in 87. I can show it to you. It is very simple. You should just don't listen to the noise. Just do your work and assume that things are predictable, because moves are not moving at random. So this corona situation is just the trigger. Now let me say that a lot of people call something a black swan situation. Now I don't remember who wrote about the black swan and called the black swan, but what the person meant was that there is always something you cannot predict why it's going to happen. And I heard people talking about black swans. The interesting thing is they try to figure out what the black swan is, and I figure out when the black swan is going to be, and I'll wait till see what the black swan is going to be. So the cycle work I do, and by the way, a lot of your listeners are looking now at my research, and I hope I help them to get out of the market. A lot of the research is based on that when something is going to happen. That means is the day, the week, the month, and at what level it's going to happen. And that makes investing very simple. It's just a different approach. Like you said, this last time I was honest, as maybe we would have 5% on the upside. In the end, it was only 2%, and I'm worried about 40% on the downside. The problem is that everybody's listening to the media the whole time, and I'm always watching at market tops what happens, and there's not one person who says the market can come down. I remember watching CBC and had Mark Cuban saying about you have to buy the market. He suddenly became a market analyst. And now all the market analysts are virus experts, and it really has nothing to do with the virus. It's just an excuse for the market to do what they had to do. And since people always get caught up in what brought the market down, they never study what's really going on below that. Now, what really was going on below that is the scare of deflation. Maybe you remember we said the oil is going to the mid-30s, and that was when oil was at 70.
That's right.
The commodity index is dropping like a stone. The interest rates show that something is really something wrong, and that is why the market was so vulnerable. Now, on top of that, I always showed in my newsletter who was buying and who was selling. And for the last 2 months, the insiders were selling, and the small investors were buying. And I challenged them all, let somebody just write me, why are you buying this market? Give me one idea. And they never came with the motivation. And there were 100,000 motivation why you should sell the market. And this is what we end up with.
Interest rates. There must be something powerful wrong for 10-year money. 10-year money to be below 1%. I mean, it's bouncing all over the place. It's 0.33 one day at a record low and 0.67, 0.70, 0.8. I just, where are interest rates going to here? Are they going to negative?
In the end, they came negative. So the big problem is that how are the baby boomers, how are they going to retire? They're not going to have any interest to get from the banks. The stocks are gonna kill them. And I just don't know how this whole, how this thing is going to end. Even I saw an interview with Buffett and Charlie Munger. He says, we don't really know how this is going to influence the world, negative interest rates. But it's a big problem because you can have some money in the bank, but if you live another 20 years, eat up your money, and what are you going to do? So it changes the whole picture of the consumers. And we have to take in consideration that there's no buying power coming.
Nobody's going to have any money. You mean
right,
nobody's
afraid to spend it?
So this is why the deflation. Now, some people may come on and say, okay, so you said gold was going to go up, and actually it did go up. It went up about $100 since you made the call. I think we were in the 15s, maybe high 14s. It's now come down to the 15s again. But you still think gold's going to go up because of this? Why?
Well, my theory is, but again, I don't deal with theories. I just deal with what's going to happen. But my theory is that if we have deflation and start down, and we got the liquidity crisis, that bonds will drop dead. Even we should have lower rates, and then real estate will come down. So the only thing you can hide is in gold. The idea of most people who don't know the history of inflation, deflation, say gold is good for inflation, but at least 50% of bull markets in gold and silver were in deflationary periods. You just have to study the last 200 years of financial markets, not what you remember since you were a kid.
So we're down about 20. I mean, it's the gyrations are stupefying. They're stunning. The amount of gyrations in the market. We're down 8%.
2,500 points today.
Yeah. So and this is on Thursday. So Friday the 13th. Where is the market going now? We're plus 20% down since you were talking. We're about 20% down since you said. I told my clients to get out, and I'm worried about a 40% decline. Are you still worried about a 40% decline, or could it be worse?
Well, you know that it was all over the media, and they were always laughing at me that my long-term downside target is 5,000 for the Dow Jones. And they asked me how we're going to get there, and I said, I don't know how we're going to get there, but this will be a real we'll sing with the virus. We have an idea, there's no business anymore because United States stops flights from to stop. So maybe, we have an idea we could go down to 5,000. But again, before people get too worried, in the 1990s, we were 5,000. And, life didn't look that terrible. So we're going to survive that also. It's just that if you don't watch the cycles and the price targets, you're never going to recover.
Would you be a seller here? I mean, would you say, okay, we're at, what are we at, 22, 21,000? Would you be a seller here?
Yeah.
What are we are now?
No, because my first downside Jones was 20,000. Just another 1,000. And there was a short-term low coming up or Friday or Monday.
So
this
you think
is
it's
not
going
the moment to sell. But again.
So you think people are going to get a shot to sell? They're going to come out in the FOMC meeting, the Federal Open Market Committee meeting, and they're going to cut rates. They're going to go crazy, although they went crazy today and it backfired. We got a 2,000-point decline. But you think that there's going to be some kind of momentum go back up? You can sell into this whatever this is.
Well, this bounce today, what they said is totally ridiculous. Don't tell me that you don't take a loan because rates are too high and you would do it if it's a quarter of a percent less. It has absolutely nothing to do with it.
So you think that the market's going to bounce? Would you sell into the rally, whatever rally we get? Would you sell?
You have to sell the rally, but like I always tell people is I tell you when the top is and when the bottom, and then they says, well, you said there was a cycle top, but I wanted to see if it really happened, and now the market is on 8%. What should I do? And then I say in the middle, I tell you where the top is and where the bottom is. We have an intraday service that comes out almost every day, and it tells you every intraday bounce. It sounds ridiculous if you don't see it at which hour it's going to top and how many points it's going up. If you look that, you can take the bounce. But I probably not going to tell people in the middle what to do. It's just too late. And let's hope that it goes up a whole 20,000. If it goes to 20,000, I won't say it's the end of the world, but it's a 1929 situation.
But you're saying, so just so people get clear here, you're not hedging at all on, people are laughing a lot less right about now. And you're saying your charts are saying, I don't know how we get there, but we're going to see a 5,000 Dow.
Right.
That's what you're still saying. You're holding on to that number.
2 years.
Huh? Go ahead.
Because like in 2-3 weeks, we lost 10,000 points, already down to 10,000.
Okay, so people can just take that. So you're steadfastly saying, you're not going to tell people what to do, but you are saying, we're going to see 5,000 on the Dow. Period. The end.
And I tell people, we'll make the money in bonds and in gold and silver. Just stay out of the stock market. You can't play this.
You can't play. And let's talk about what you think about gold and the price. You were saying that 2,500, but I don't know what's going to happen with the markets. We could see 50,000 on gold, and at the time people were, oh come on, 50,000 on gold. Well, they weren't thinking that we'd see this kind of a correction in a matter of a few weeks. So you're saying that why could gold astronomically go higher?
I only said that if the world gets that crazy that they have to connect to the gold standard, I calculated it, then gold would go to 30,000 only if we go back to the gold standard. In the meantime, I did some research, and most experts don't think that they will get back to the gold standard. But who knows what's going to happen?
And if you look at silver, the silver-gold ratio, I don't know if you followed this at all, but silver's about 1570 or something. 1570. Take $1,570. Silver is $15.70. So if you just do the math on that, you're almost right at 100 to 1, 100 ounces of silver to make 1 ounce of gold. Is gold way too high or is silver way too low? I mean, what do you think about that?
I think silver is too low, and usually silver is where most small investors are going in silver, and they haven't picked up on the bull market yet. So soon silver will outperform gold.
On a percentage basis. That's what you mean. You don't mean silver will be higher than gold on a percentage basis. Please explain that for me.
No. On a percentage basis.
Yeah. I'm not trying to trip you up now. I just want to make
Well,
people get.
no.
So, but you
Well,
think it'll be?
the big investors in gold, Chinese, the Indians, the central banks, the Saudis, and the small investor usually is in silver, and the small investor hasn't yet woken up that they should go in metals. The problem is once they are, the big guys already in for a long time, and after it goes up, the same thing has happened with the stock market. The big guys going to sell to the small people, and the small people going to be stuck, and then something happens again. It's always the same thing, because I can say, buy silver, but they don't hear on by the media why they should buy silver, so they cannot choose a mathematical method to buy silver, although it proves itself for the last 30 years. So they have to wait till the media wake up. But once the media wake up, it's usually close to the end. So they always have a problem. So that's why silver, percentage-wise, is not catching up yet with gold, because the big institutions buy more gold, and the small investor has to wake up to buy silver.
And you would be a silver buyer right here, right now.
No. If you look at my research, we discussed it. We discussed it last time. I've seen it again. People buy it, and we buy it for the long term. Profit, I go out, but he says I'm in there for the long term. They lose 20%, and then they take a loss, and they miss the next up move. It has to be timed. You have to look at my research, because if you believe that I'm right about the gold, also believe that I know when it's going up and how much it's going up. Just follow the research.
And how long is this gold silver cycle, do you think, will last? If you look at it on a chart, how long will this cycle last?
It can last 6 years.
Oh, wow. So buying in here somewhere, if you're going to hold it, you would be a buyer. If you're just going to hold it.
But most people don't hold that. They says, okay, I stay in for the long term, and when it goes against them, really, I've been in business for a long time. They take the loss, then they hurt. It says, okay, let's get in. No, I'm not over my loss, and then I miss the next up move. So silver also up and down 20%. And I work with the cycles, and I tell them exactly when to go in and when to go out.
When do you think your stock market will bottom out? You were talking in the past 2022, 23, 24, somewhere in that neighborhood. Right. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. You tell me.
I think 2021 is the last quarter of 2021
will be the low in the market, stock market.
Right.
And
now that doesn't mean that you have a V explosion. Doesn't mean that you go explode up from that time, because look what happened to the Nikkei. It could hang around at the low level for 20 years.
Yeah, most of I was going to ask you that a lot of these guys are saying, well, we're going to have a V-shaped recovery or a U-shaped recovery, and you're saying not necessarily.
No, not necessarily. We have a lot of examples that it takes 20 years until basis, and then you have a bottom. The same thing happened in gold. It topped in 1980, and it took a long time until we hit a bottom. Up and down, was nothing to do until it took off.
And what do you think about the real estate market interest rates? So right now we're plumbing some sub 1% 10-year Treasury bonds, and then it's lower than that. What do you think is going to happen to interest rates? What's your cycle saying?
Well, interest rates are going to stay low for a while. We're going to have, like everybody talks about, hyperinflation. Have to time. Everybody is talking about inflation for the last 10, 15 years, and there's no inflation. By the time they give up on inflation, that's when it's going to happen. Now, the real estate, you have to understand that's a problem, because interest rates are low. But what happens in financial markets? You lose on your stocks. Then you have your bonds that don't give anything. You don't want to take a loss on your bonds. So what is left? To sell real estate. So that's one of the reasons why real estate is going to come down, not because financing is so expensive, but you want to get money from somewhere.
So you think real estate's going to be sold off?
Right.
Because people will be trying to liquidate whatever they can for cash.
Now, yeah, but the problem is I also have real estate I want to sell, because in Amsterdam, it's going through the roof. But I decide not to do it because I don't trust the banking system. Now, as you know, for years we talked about Deutsche Bank. I said if it gets below 6.5, it can go in bankruptcy. Now it closed at 5.5. So it came from 140, and now it's 5.5, and they're interconnected to most European banks. So something is really cooking over there, and I don't really trust the banks. So that's why I'm not selling real estate.
So you're afraid if you sell real estate, you could get a pie in the face.
I don't know where to put the money.
So, but you're afraid you lose the money in the banks.
I don't trust the banks anymore, especially we talked about, you remember? Because Deutsche Bank is below 6.5, it's now at 5.5.
Yeah, you said
can easily go to 390.
You said if it hit 6, I think you did some chart work for me. I called you up and said, hey, I had you comment on Deutsche Bank. You said, well, if it gets below 8, that's a problem. I said, well, you give me some more chart work. You said, and the number you picked was 644. Do you know that it got to around 645, 647? And you said, yes, and then it bounced right off that. I mean, somebody must have been listening to that interview. You don't think people would listen to you, do they? And then you said, well, listen, if it goes through 644, it's going to go to 0. So you think something big is going on, and Deutsche Bank is the canary in the coal mine.
Definitely.
Explain.
Definitely. If Deutsche Bank goes, I don't know what the other banks are going to do.
So now Deutsche Bank, I just looked it up. It's down 15% on Thursday. 15%. It's down to 553. I don't know what it's going to open up at, whatever. But you already crossed your target, the Rubicon. You're on the other side of the bank.
Right.
You're down below 644. You think that DB could go to 0 now? Is that what your chart says?
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
So let me. I just want to make sure this is a news-making event here. You're saying that your charts are saying DB crossed 644. Your charts say it's on its way to 0. And please explain that in a couple of sentences.
There's one more station at 390. If it goes below 390, it's finished.
But you say it's in deep trouble right now at below 644, what you had called before.
Well, I tell you, I'm not an expert in these things. I'm not so I know fundamentals like other people, but I don't know what's going on in banks. I mean, accountancy reports you can't even trust anymore, so I don't know. But I guess if you go from 140 to 5.5, something is going on.
And you think that's just the canary in the coal mine? That you're saying that it's a bigger happening than just Deutsche Bank. Bigger problems.
And ING, they're also not 20%. Listen, you're talking, Italian banks are very important and big banks. What happens in Italy, right? They closed everything. They closed Milan. There's no fashion anymore. There's no car business anymore. Nothing going on. How do you think all these banks?
Right now, you're forecasting a banking crisis, and the tip of the iceberg, the dead canary, is DB.
Right. Well, I can't explain it. I just know that they're interconnected to all the other banks in Europe, and I don't know what money they have outstanding between them. Since they're still, I think they're still the biggest one, so I don't understand how other banks can survive if this bank gets in trouble. Not too negative. Help as usual. You can sign up. You get it for a while for free, the research, and if you like it because you come from USA Watchdog, you get it on 50% discount. And especially in these times, I really like to help you out because nobody really tells you what markets are doing. So you have an idea when to get out, when to get in. Maybe it's going to be a buying opportunity. And watch it and don't listen to the media. They have no idea what's going on.
They don't have any idea. Legacy media misled people.
No, I don't. I think they really don't know better. I don't have to mislead. They really don't know any better.
Wow, that's sad.
That's not my expertise. I tell you what's going to happen. If it's going up, when it's going up, how much is going up, when it's going down. The rest is you're talking around it. You want to know what happens to the market. Don't ask me about viruses. Don't ask me about the Fed. Don't ask me about whatever they talk about cash, because they don't know there's such a thing as knowing exactly what happens in the market. So they always force me, what do you think about the cash flow of IBM? Well, who cares? I don't care. I just know what IBM is going to do. So that's why it works much better with you, because you have an open mind and you understand there's a different way of approaching markets.
So you think that it gets worse before it gets better, and we're headed for a banking crisis? First question, does it get worse before it gets better? I
think we're heading for depression. I've been saying that. Listen, I've been saying also on your show, usually the recession starts with a GDP from 6%. Now we have 1.5%, 2%. Usually the Fed funds are 6, 7, 8%. Now they're almost zero. What are you going to do when you get a recession? You get very fast a negative GDP. You get very fast negative interest rates. And it's a big mess. It has been going on for many, many nice years. And all the Fed president says, you know, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to have some tricks. I don't want a history. Know that in my lifetime, the market crashes and we have a depression like the 30s. So they kept it going, and there's no way out anymore.
So depression is a lead pipe cinch.
Yeah, it's going to be very bad.
And getting worse from here.
Well, like in 1999, it takes, or in 2007, it takes a couple of months until you feel it. Like the prime minister in Holland says, well, everything is going fine. And even when the job report came out, oh, it doesn't really, the job report is still good. What does it say, job report is still good? Let's wait for the next two. So it takes a couple of months, and then people say, oh, we really have a problem.
Charles Denner Research Center, charlesdenner.com. I'll put the links up. Don't you have a free 2-week trial? Tilt your camera down just a little bit. Tilt your camera down. Just, there, 2-week trial. Okay, we'll just leave it. We're at the end of the interview. There, perfect. Just stay. Perfect. Just great. Charles Denner, thanks for joining us today on usawatchdog.com. Thanks for coming on. You called. And thank you for worry. And I hope people listen to your warning. You're worried about a 40% decline. Now you're worried about a depression. Yeah, you think gold and silver are a buy? You think? Okay, you were right. I got, dude. You were, so people laughing at you about a 5,000. Stop laughing and take a serious look down the pipe. All these banks are closed over in Europe. The air traffic is closed down. Deutsche Bank is now 553. Warning, danger, warning, danger. Right? Am I wrong? Am I being too hyperventilating?
Correct.
Thank you very much. Charles Denner, thanks for coming on and killing it, my friend. Thank you for coming on and giving people accurate forecasting and information that you can only find on places like usawatchdog.com. All the links will be up. There's a free trial that you can get for charlesdenner.com. Charles Denner, again, thank you very much for joining us on usawatchdog.com.
See you again. Bye-bye.